Hi, I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet, and today I'm going to tell you about the greatest lie Games Workshop ever told. The thing they don't want you to know. That they aren't the only people in the world that make models. I got into Warhammer and modelling and tabletop wargaming just a little under a year ago, and this is the series in which I've documented my thoughts and finds and opinions and feelings about the hobby. And this thing is called Warhammer Wednesday because Warhammer 40k is the game that I loved as a kid and got back into it with. But the thing is, as much as I love the GW models, and I love them, I'm not saying you shouldn't buy GW models because their kits are incredible. They are probably the best modelling company out there, right? But they aren't the only one. If you told somebody you got into tabletop wargaming, if you said that to a normie, let's say, you said, I've been playing with little plastic men pushed around a table and throwing dice, if they had any point of reference, it's gonna be Warhammer. D&D might come up, but most people know that's not a wargaming thing. They would either say Warhammer, or they'd have no fucking idea what you're talking about. To say that GW and Warhammer are not synonymous with tabletop wargaming and tabletop hobbying in general would be a fucking lie. But the truth is, there are many reasons why you might want to put together your own model by kit bashing or scratch building something, or pick up models from other third-party companies. These reasons can be, well, that maybe the unit in your book doesn't have a fucking model, as is the case of one of the autarchs for the Eldar, for example. Perhaps GW have just failed time and time again to revamp a model line, and you don't want a model that's 30 years old that looks like a fucking piece of shit. Maybe the models are out of stock, discontinued, unavailable anymore, or you just don't like how the old ones look. Or, in the case of the Orc Mech Gun, it's so expensive to buy like between 3 and 9 of these fucking things, because they're £30 a pop for like a 40-point model, that you just want to scratch build, or kit bash, or buy alternatives from elsewhere. So today I'm going to talk about kit bashing, scratch building a little bit, and do a little mini review of third-party models, referencing 2 companies in particular. One is Raging Heroes, and one is CreatureCast. If you're only here for one of those topics, I'm sorry, I'm a rambly bastard. I'm going to go through all of them in a not very organised way, so buckle up, sit down, get a cup of tea, and enjoy. And if you like the look of the Raging Heroes stuff that I'm about to talk about, they were nice enough to offer me a battle force to give away. I'll put it on screen now. This is available as a prize, a giveaway. Essentially, if you comment down below telling me what your favourite army in Warhammer 40k is, I know it's such a generic question, but fuck it, it's engagement, right? You can just comment down below what your favourite army in 40k is. I'll pick one winner, announce it next Wednesday's video, and then I'll DM you via your social media platform of choice, YouTube messaging or whatever, to get your details passed on to Raging Heroes and get you this battle force into your hands. And full transparency, I wanted to do a video on CreatureCaster stuff, namely this bad boy, because I fell in love with it when I saw it. That's my next Great and Clean one. More of that in a moment. But I hadn't really considered doing other third-party companies. I wanted to start with CreatureCaster and do the others a bit down the line. But what had happened was CreatureCaster stuff was out of stock for fucking ages. Like, we're talking 4 or 5 months. I wanted one for Christmas, but they just weren't in stock, and my wife wasn't going to get me one anyway. She was like, what the fuck do you want one of those for? But they were out of stock, so she couldn't get me one anyway. And then, weirdly, Raging Heroes reached out and said, do I want to do a sponsored bit or a video, you know, they sponsored the video for me to talk about their product. And I said, actually, I'd rather you sent me a product. I can give you honest opinions on it. Maybe you can give me some stuff to give away as well. That'd be nice. So I can maintain some journalistic integrity. So the stuff they sent me was free, and the stuff I'm giving away is obviously free as well from Raging Heroes, and no money exchanged hands. And with CreatureCaster, I wrote to them, and they didn't write back. Cheers, CreatureCaster. But I picked up the Lord of Discord, or whatever the fuck it's called anyway, Lord of Ruin. I'm bad with names. I'll put the name on screen when I'm talking about it in a bit. I picked that up myself anyway, out of my own hobby dollars, because I wanted one. So that's the full transparency of how I got these models. So, with that out of the way, let's talk a bit about kit bashing. You can't talk about kit bashing without first talking about scratch building. They're 2 different terms. To scratch build something is to build something literally from scratch. It's often what you do with terrain. You get MDF or plyboard or bits of rubble or whatever, and you just glue it onto a thing, spray it, paint it up, add some pigments. That's scratch building terrain. There's a huge selection of YouTube videos across the YouTube stratosphere, I was going to say, landscape of scratch building terrain. It's a big niche that you can really go into a fucking rabbit hole with if you want to watch some. I should know, I have. But scratch building models is less common. Like I said, the Orc mech gun is an obvious one because they're so expensive to buy on their own that you might want to just build a load out of spare wheels and guns and orky looking bits in your bits box so that you can have more mech guns without spending hundreds of pounds to get one unit on the fucking table. If you're interested in how expensive mech guns are, I did a video on the top 10 most expensive models in all of Warhammer, not just going price high to low on Forge World like a lazy YouTuber, but I put in some effort. I made a fucking spreadsheet. I checked point per pound. Links to that in the description and the cards and shit. So that's scratch building. And scratch building has been around for a long fucking time. Games Workshop used to encourage it and endorse it. There was a famous thing where they tried to get you to scratch build this fucking thing, a tank, in an old issue of Games Workshop's magazine White Dwarf. But this is a scratch built vehicle that you make out of fucking an aerosol can or a fucking washing up liquid bottle or whatever you had to hand, because that was basically what they encouraged at the time. But as time has gone on, it makes sense to not encourage that, right? It makes sense to sell as much of your stuff as possible. Don't encourage people to build your own scenery like they used to do in the old days when I was a kid. Instead, they encourage you to buy their scenery, because the more stuff they can get you to buy within the Citadel Games Workshop infrastructure ecosystem, the more money they make. And this isn't a criticism of that, that makes a lot of sense, but it's something I've observed that Games Workshop as a company don't even acknowledge the existence of other tabletop board games. Recently, Magic the Gathering has spoken explicitly about how Project Booster Fun, a way to make opening boosters more fun, was encouraged or inspired by competitors on the market. And recently, Magic has branched out, or is going to branch out, to have Warhammer 40k cards and Lord of the Ring cards, and they're not pretending that competitors and other tabletop games don't exist. But with G-Dub, I think they do. I think because they sell their own paints, their own glues, their own cutting mats, their own snippers, their own terrain, their own models, all with a rule system that you also have to buy, they like to pretend that you can't build your own shit or get stuff elsewhere. So that's scratch building. Kit bashing is different. Kit bashing is where you take two kits or boxes or selection of sprues, or whatever you want to call them, two different units or models that you bought to build, and you bash them together. This can be as little as changing the arm on one troop to be slightly different. If you check out my Instagram, I actually took a 10-person squad of Sisters of Battle and made it into two 5-person squads, making two Sister Superiors, the Sergeant characters, by kit bashing some bits together, shaving some bits down, and putting a power sword on another model. That way I got 2 squads of 5 instead of 1 squad of 10. That means I've got 2 troops now to field a Sister of Battle army. Or, and we'll come to this in just a moment, you can kit bash entire models out of models that aren't meant to be that thing. This is a Nightbringer built out of a Bone Reaper Ossiarch thing. I'll show you more of that in a moment. Kit bashing allows you to get models and make them if you think the old ones look shit. It allows you to update sculpts. It allows you to get things that might be expensive. It allows you to flex your creative muscles, or even create things that don't actually exist. I didn't film this today, so here's a picture from my Instagram of my Death Company Redemptor Dreadnought. This is not a thing in Warhammer 40k. I really hope the new codex would give us this option, but it didn't. It just plays like a Redemptor on the tabletop. Who the fuck cares? But it is just, oh, I loved building this. It gave me a space to flex my creative muscles and build something that was both part of 40k but part of my own headcanon and reference something that I love, like the Death Company. And I think it's a really cool and rich part of the hobby that you don't get elsewhere. A really good creative outlet beyond just gluing stuff together and painting it. So that's kit bashing. And then we have third party. That's your creature casters, your raging heroes, your Cromlech bits, your Stormcrow. Is it Stormcrow? Oh fuck. I'll put it on screen now. I think it's Stormcrow. Shit. Either way, third party companies that provide you with heads, arms, or entire models that can still be played within the Warhammer ecosystem, the Warhammer rule set. But a local Games Workshop store won't let you. Most tournaments won't let you play most of this stuff either. I imagine kit bashed mech guns might be okay, but if you said you wanted to play a third party Celestine or a third party Guilliman or whatever, people would just say no. I mean, from a competitive standpoint, they want people to be able to have less mental taxing trying to figure out what things are, to understand what opponents' units are quite easily, standardized sizing, basing, like the layout and stuff. A lot of that factors in the competitive side. And GW stores, they ain't gonna let you play this shit because they ain't selling it. You also need to bear in mind that your local game store might be opposed to you buying shit online to play in their store if you're not spending money at their store. Honestly, I can see where they're coming from if you never spend money in their store. If a local store that I spend money in told me that I couldn't play one of my creature caster models in one of their store events, I'd be quite angry, because I'm a fucking whale and you probably want my money. So bear in mind, a lot of third-party stuff, it opens up the world of customization, different orc heads, different wings for your demon princes and shit, but they might not allow you to play those things at a competitive event or certain stores. And I put a poll up on Twitter as well, asking if someone said they had a third-party model, would you let them play? And the vast majority, the overwhelming majority said yes. And quite a few people said yes, because they don't want to stop someone else from playing, but it would break their immersion a little bit. And others said they would even let people just play with fucking beer coasters and bottle caps and little bits of plastic, like, you know, rubbish, basically, as proxies for models if it meant they could get a game in. The mini wargaming hobby to me is partly a game. I am a gamer, am I right? Gamers. As much as I love, and I want to get competitive with it as well, as much as I love the game, the other part of it is the creative aspect. The relaxing aspect of having a very solitary hobby in some ways, of sitting down and gluing and painting and building, and then the creativity that unlocks as you create custom paint schemes, headcanon for your new Order of Sisters of Battle that I'm thinking up, and paint schemes for things that aren't even in the game, and kit bashing. It's all a creative endeavour. So with that said, let's look at some of the kit bashes that I made earlier in the hobby and a bit later, and why I did those things, and hope that they'll inspire you to do similar. And then we're going to do a little mini review of the Raging Heroes and Creature Caster stuff that I've had a chance to play around with, build and paint. Yeah, don't forget, give away in the comment section, let me know your favourite Warhammer army, and I'll pick a winner next Wednesday. So one of the reasons you might want to kit bash your own model is because the existing model might kind of suck, or not be up to what you want. This is the Sanguinor. He is one of the characters from the Blood Angels, and in essence he is the warp ghost of Sanguinius himself, so he's meant to be quite a badass. He shows up when the Dark Angels are in times of need and fucks people up. This is the OG model. I'm not keen on it. It feels tiny. And, well, I like it from a retrospective of when I was a kid, but I think it's not quite what the Sanguinor should be. Let's not talk about his rules either. He's not as good as he probably should be. This is the kit bash of the Sanguinor I made. Now, I could never play this at a tournament because I put it on the wrong base size, okay? This is not the base size you want for the Sanguinor. For the purposes of image clarity and focus, I've removed the playmat from the equation. I'm showing you this is my first kit bash. I said some of this video would be me just showing off some stuff that I've done, because basically this is my Warhammer Wednesday show, so you can fucking like it or lump it. This is a mixture of Sanguinary Guard, I fucked that word up, Sanguinary Guard, and some Stormcast Eternal stuff. To make this body. The wings are magnetized, he's floating on a ribbon much like the original one is. I put him on the wrong base size, because I'm an idiot. Also, you can tell it's one of my earliest scratch builds, or not scratches, kit bashes, because A, it's on the wrong base size. I had no fucking idea what I was doing when I came back to the hobby in May. And B, I haven't coloured the base in, and the basing was done with a lot of gravel, and I've not really finished off with any paste. And it's starting to chip the paint and go into brick look and stuff. There's a lot to learn from my mistakes. Comment section. I'm going to go back and touch this guy up and help with, not rebasing, but fixing up his base. I would ask my friends if they were okay with me playing with a larger Sanguinor, because if you're the Force Ghost of Sanguinius, you should be a bit fucking cooler, right? And don't forget that when you're playing with your mates, if you're not playing hyper competitively, and I plan to play competitively, I plan to go to tournaments, so this guy's not for that. This is the tournament one if I was going to run him. But if you're going to play with your mates, come up with your own headcanon. Improve the characters that you think are cooler. I mean, this has an actual in-game improvement, which might be questionable for some people, and I get that, and I wouldn't force it upon anyone. But I just think it's cool to express your creativity and to improve sculpts of models that are 20, 30, 40 years old. Dante, which I didn't bother to get together for this video, but Dante, I own a couple of those now, metal and non-metal, and I still think I might make my own, because Dante is older than me, because I'm only 21. Then we come to the Nightbringer. This is what the Nightbringer looks like. OG, original Nightbringer. I am not a fan of the Finecast Nightbringer. I think the sculpt is really simple and boring. So instead, I made this one. If you're wondering what this white thing here is, that's not a toilet in my office. That's a sink. There's a sink in my office. It's great for painting. This is my scratch built. I said scratch built again, but I didn't mean scratch built. Fuck it out. I need to stop saying it. My kit bashed Nightbringer. Now, again, I'm going to have to get a normal Nightbringer to play at a competitive level with Necrons at the store or at tournaments when they're available again, because the Nightbringer is a competitive staple of the Necron army. And this guy, even though I elevated him with lots and lots of rock here, he is not tall enough to be a Nightbringer. But again, I felt like the Nightbringer model sucked, so I got a Boneyark Reaper, I made some cloth with some green stuff, I dry brushed him up. He was a very simple paint. I put some old scarabs on his base, and this is the Nightbringer that I use with my friends who are like pretty casual and don't really give a shit. And at competitive events, I'll have to just get a normal Necron Nightbringer. And it's just a fun project to update characters that should be badass, because the Nightbringer is fucking badass. And in the same vein, if you haven't been following, Prior Nexus is a fucking joke in terms of giving us models that we all want in some sort of pack that, well, we don't all want to buy. Chronomancers, Heavy Intercessors, and the Flayed ones. So this is my custom Kitbashed Cryptomancer. Not finished. Cryptech. This can be used as a Plasmancer, Chronomancer, Psychomancer. Again, it's a Bone Reaper, Boneyark, Ossiarch Bone Reaper sculpt, where he's holding up a skeleton, and I love it. I love the original sculpt. So what I've done is I've got in there, and I've added a Necron insignia to the front of him, over here, changed his head, put the head on this, put a Necron insignia on there as well. That took actually way too much time to do. Added a wire with green stuff, and then when I paint him up, there you go. I've got myself a custom Chronomancer. Because the Chronomancers aren't available right now, and also I just wanted to make my own model out of that, the Bone Reapers. The Bone Reapers give you some really cool Necron conversion fuel. So if you're watching this video to get some ideas for conversions, there you go. Let's talk third party. Here's one of my favourite GW models, the Great Unclean one. He is just the fucking coolest. I played him in a small tournament when lockdown wasn't on. Oh, got to fix his base, it's been scratched up a little bit. I've played him quite a bit online. He's not the best of the Greater Demons, but I love him so much. I'm really proud of the paint scheme that I managed to get done with this guy as well. One of my earliest big models. This is pre-Silent King that I painted this, I believe. I just love him. I just absolutely love him. I might go back and paint another one of these at some point in the future when I feel like my painting ability has improved. So I love him. To the point that I want multiples of these. I can fill the 3 Great Unclean ones, right? Or Scabathrax, the big Lord of War from Forge World, who isn't much different to this. And that's an important point, I guess, about the Forge World one, is that the Forge World one is a lot dearer than this, but I would happily allow any of my friends to use this one to represent Scabathrax on the battlefield. Scabathrax's character sheet is in the Forge World book. You shouldn't have to have the more expensive resin one to play with it. I'm super about the accessibility of hobbies. That's why I go about fetch lands being reprinted in Magic so often. So, that's my first point. You shouldn't have to pay for a more expensive model when it's basically the same bloody thing, just in resin. And resin fucking sucks. On the topic of resin sucking, here is a heavy, chunky boy. Now, the colour scheme on camera looks significantly off. It's not so bad to the eye. But that's because I've got better as a painter, and this guy is washed and shaded to buggery, and this guy is not. It's actually light and day how much I've improved as a painter, right? This guy isn't even finished. I feel like a lot of layering and highlights can go into the metallics and his shoulder skull and stuff. Let's get some closer shots of this guy. This is a Lord of Discord from Creature Caster. This is my first ever attempt at pustule gem-like things. I think they count really well, like balls of pus and maggots on his shoulder there. And I love this model. The moment I saw it, I thought, fuck, that's a Great Unclean one channeled through the aesthetic principles of Gears of War. It looks like a boomer from Gears mixed with a Great Unclean one from Warhammer. And I think that's wicked, because both of those things are wicked, right? I haven't finished him here, so you've got some pustules I haven't finished up, and I haven't finished up this robe here. But he's tabletop ready, at least, I guess. I love this guy, and he is my second Great Unclean one. Now, what you'll notice is, in stature and shape, they're pretty much the same. But base size? They're not the same. So that's a consideration you need to make. I think we have to get a larger base like this, cheap off eBay. Put a magnet on here, a magnet on that. The quality of Creature Caster, they even put their fucking logo on the bottom of their things. It's so good. And just magnetize him to that base when I'm playing him, so there's a bit of an extra rim to make him playable. But then when he's on display on the table or on a shelf, he can look like this. I bought a Creature Caster Great Unclean one because the Creature Caster models got me super fucking excited. I was really keen for them. I ended up picking up all of the 3 like Nurgle-esque, again, not officially endorsed, not actually Nurgle, but the dirty, unclean versions of their demon sculpts. And this guy, whilst he doesn't really have a direct parallel in 40k, I want to proxy him as a Sloppity Bile Piper or similar, and I'm also going to use him as a villain, an enemy, in Dungeons and Dragons when my Dungeons and Dragons group resume. And that's another thing about picking up all these third-party models, is that instead of just using basically a lot of Space Marines and Necrons to represent characters on the battlefield for my D&D games, I can start like really enriching the D&D experience with these bad boys. So I reached out to CreatureCaster, full disclaimer. I asked them for some preview product and they just didn't respond, which is fine. I didn't expect them to have to send me stuff, right? But I'm going to say their sculpts are fucking incredible. Resin is a pain in the arse to work with, but if you're looking to get, and bear in mind this is not a cheaper version of this. This is approximately double the price of this, but it looks better than the Forge World version of this, which is GW's own resin stuff. And it is just such a high quality sculpt. It's also the heaviest model I own. I actually was getting like a sore wrist holding this fucker up to paint him. But I would recommend CreatureCaster to anyone who's trying to just up the quality of their collection for a painting or hobbying project. I can also use this guy in D&D as well. I got the other, like I said, the other Discordian Autarch things. I got the witch here as well. She's like a sea witch with a Iron Maiden shield. Got to paint her soon. She looks fucking awesome. And we got this guy who's like a witchy spellcastery thing. Where are we? He's quite spindly, and resin when it's thin, which I'll talk about more in a moment, is a pain in the fucking arse to deal with. But again, another really cool model that I'm looking forward to painting up as a project and then using as a proxy or in D&D. So as a mini review of CreatureCaster, I cannot recommend them enough. Resin is a pain in the arse to work with. You got to wash it first. You got to glue it together with super glue. It's fiddly to do with smaller parts. This guy's got a lot of smaller moving parts, smaller smaller parts to work with. So if you're new to the hobby, I wouldn't recommend that. And the most third parties will be working in resin. But other than that, I have nothing bad to say about this model. CreatureCaster aren't... There's a lot of third parties who just have super tons of tits and sexualized women under the male gaze. And whilst there are tits on CreatureCaster, don't get me wrong, there's a keep a secret model that I couldn't even show on screen, there's so many boobies in it. At least, like, the majority of their models are more concerned with, like, the aesthetic of war and grimness and darkness and demons and shit than it is about giving you a boner. So far, with my first experience with CreatureCaster, I'll give them a thumbs up. I'll give them an A+. Now on to today's, not sponsor, but like featured creator who sent me stuff. So therefore, if you want to win the army pack that I mentioned at the beginning, don't forget to comment down below telling me your favourite army in 40k. That's literally it. That's all you need to do is tell me your favourite army in 40k and you'll be up for winning a Raging Heroes Battle Army thing. This is a Sister of Battle. This is the 40k Sister of Battle. This is one I painted very recently after I started to build the army. Slowly but surely I'm going to have every army under the fucking sun if I can help it. And, well, they have Celestine, who looks like this. And honestly, the Celestine model is so good, I don't think you need an alternative to it. But sometimes, visually, you might want something different. And I've got this bad girl here. Now, this is from Raging Heroes. This is part of their Angel... I'll put the thing on screen now, the Angel line. They've got a lot of names that I'm never going to remember because I'm bad with names at the best of times. There are several sculpts in that line. There's another Celestine insert. There's an Astarath equivalent, and there is a basically Sanguinius, a version of the Primarch from the Blood Angels. Now the Astarath one is interesting because I don't super like... I like the old Astarath sculpt, but again, he just looks aged and old, similar to the Sanguinor. So yeah, this guy's going to be my Astarath. However, let's talk a little bit about the posing on this particular product. Now, full disclosure, they contacted me, they asked to sponsor me. I said, no, I'd rather do a review. I'd rather talk about your product honestly. If you want to give me something to give away in that video, as they did, then that'd be great. And they did. And I said to them, send me these angels, because I wanted to paint a Sanguinor-esque thing, or Sanguinius-esque thing, should I say. A Celestine. They're just cool. They're for Blood Angels and someone who wanted to start collecting sisters. This was a cool box to get. And we come to our first problem. Resin can bend. This guy's bent quite far back. This is bent quite far forward. I guess I should have adjusted that in the building process by heating the resin up with a hairdryer or warm water, bending it and letting it set back into shape. I kind of am considering doing that for this one, but I've already fully painted her, and it was a really fun little paint project, and I'm really proud of how she came out. I think she looks gorgeous. But what I'm probably going to have to do is counterweight her with some weights in here, like some metal in here, to stop her falling over. Which doesn't mean that I won't pick up a Celestine and buy a Celestine and build a Celestine and paint a Celestine, But I can see why people might want these more realistic depictions of Celestine and similar. And although their realism is like at least on these angels feels realism, the scale is fantastic. It's dead on. But another problem is that these are really fiddly. I had to do a hell of a lot of green stuff work to get this guy to look even remotely sealed up. This looks like a penis, just like the head of a penis here. A lot of green stuff going into there, but mainly liquid green stuff because the hole wasn't big enough to fit actual green stuff into in my limited modelling experience. The wings were green stuffed on because in the end I couldn't get them to fasten. And I don't think this is an indication of the quality of these sculpts or anything, because the quality is there. They are intricate and detailed. I think there's some design issues around how the wings are attached, because the wings are attached via, oh, fucking see what I mean? See what I mean? The wings are attached on every single one by like a little knoblet or a little dip hole, like with a little plug, and that's it. That's it. Also, Raging Heroes have a weird thing about being... I'm going to put her down because she's actually annoying me. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to have to count away her. Raging Heroes have a thing where they give you instructions on what to do with them when you get them, which is to soak them in warm water, add soap, and gently wipe them and stuff, which is not the warm soapy water and scrub that I normally do on the resin from Forge World, or I have them with Creature Caster. So they've got a very specific thing they want you to do, and in spite of me following those rules to the fucking letter and being very careful about it, inspecting all the parts, looking for like a greasy look and going back in with more warm water and soap to get it out of the cracks, I have the paint coming off on the wings, and you can see that very starkly there, in spite of the fact that it's grey. And that is incredibly frustrating. Now, obviously my dry brushing might have been a bit hard. I'm going to put it down like that. But yeah, there's something about the resin that needs more care than other resin would to get on. Like this guy got dry brushed heavily as well, and I never had any problems with paint coming off. But I guess dry brushing onto resin has that issue. A lot of the issues I'm saying are just resin issues full stop, so I can't really blame Raging Heroes for that. But they were fiddly. The wings were awful to get on, honestly. They actually caused me a lot of frustration and not a relaxing experience to get them on. The stuff on the base, by the way, is stuff I've added on, like a stone and a helmet and stuff. But the sculpt quality is really high. There was, I'm not going to show it here, I don't think, so I will get you a picture on screen now, if I can find one, of the like some pock dot marks, imperfections in the mold. And honestly, if I wasn't rushing to put this video out a couple of weeks ago and then actually end up like putting it off, I would have probably contacted them to replace that if I bought it. But that was only on the Astrath. The rest of them, the sculpts, were near perfect, honestly. And I thought it was going to be a problem getting all the support stuff off the end of the wings, because there's a lot of intricate detail and lines in the feathers and such. Again, I'll focus the fucking camera, which I just want to see them focus on the foreground here. And I thought getting all these support structure sprue mold injection points off would be hard, and it would show up, and it didn't. See what I mean? See what I mean? It didn't. So that was actually quite easy. So this guy, I'm going to have to... I don't know, like, with this guy, he's not even that bent. This sanguineous pretend guy is actually the least bent of all of them in terms of the resin. And he is also a weight problem. Like, where the fuck was I meant to put him on the provided base if it wasn't on this side to counterweight him a little bit? To counterweight him that way. Like, was I meant to put him... I don't know. So the angels in particular, I think are beautiful sculpts. I'd recommend them as like fun painting projects. Building them was a pain in the arse. The wings badly designed. And the weight is just fucking annoying. Like, all 3 out of the 4. There's one that doesn't do this. It's ironically the one I didn't grab off the cabinet. Yeah. But I would still recommend them if you like the sculpts. But I will go through a lot of hard work to get to where I want to be. I'm assuming the troops won't be as much of an issue, because the primary issue with these was most definitely the wings. And the troops that you can get, the Retributor-esque and the Sister Battle-esque models won't be as bad. I think fiddly small resin on the whole has problems, no matter what company you get it from. So the Sisters might have a little bit of an issue there. On the whole, I'm going to give them a B+. I think they are beautiful models, but this particular set is designed... There's some obvious design issues in terms of weighting and the wings. I hope you found this video at least slightly interesting, informative, or inspiring to get you out there picking up some third-party models to spice up the way your army looks, or maybe you're going to scratch build or kit bash your own shit too. I don't know. Again, I'd love to hear about that in the comment section below. I want people's opinions as well. How do you feel about third-party products like Raging Heroes and Creature Caster and similar? Do those things diminish your enjoyment of the game, or do you like the variety that they bring and the customization options? I would love to know in the comment section below. This is the thing I'll be talking about ongoing now in my videos and on streams. I probably pick up more and more third-party stuff to supplement the GW stuff. And I'm not saying these things are strictly better or a valid, complete alternative to GW, because I want GW to succeed. The game is awesome, their fucking models are awesome, but they aren't the only horse in this race. I've been Vince, also PleasantKenobi on the internet. I hope you enjoyed this video. Click that like button, smash that bell, let me know in the comment section what you think, and I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.